This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. It wasn't too long ago that I went away on holiday with family for a few days, just to get away for a bit in Cornwall, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And whilst we were there, I'd had my Gibson Les Paul on eBay. This is a guitar that I've subjected you to a lot of chat about whether I was thinking about selling it. You know, I had it in the cupboard for ages, and then it accidentally sold on eBay. I'd accidentally replied to a guy, and then he was only in Taunton, which is good, about 45 minutes away, and I'd sent back an offer 10% discount, which then put the guitar at, I think, a reasonable price for what it was, and then it sold. And then shortly afterwards, maybe even shortly before, Chris from Kine asked, well, he basically said, I want to send you this KL59. Initially, I was wondering, how am I going to react to this guitar? Now, of course, it's an incredibly weird position to be sent £4,000 guitars, right? So let's just get that out of the way, because that is bizarre to me as well. Anyway, so I've played Kine guitars since about 2018. I bought the blue one on the Fretboard Forum. I bought the yellow one on the Fretboard Forum. I bought the green one from eBay. I bought the gold one from Coda. I bought the white one from Chris, and the There's a lot of K-lines anyway, but I bought a load of them, and then me and Chris have sort of negotiated discount on a couple of others. But anyway, what I'm loving about this, I've gigged this once already. I'm playing it more than I ever played my actual Gibson Les Paul. The neck is not sticky like my actual Gibson Les Paul was. It doesn't have the nibs, so the frets are extending all the way to the end of the fretboard. I quite like that, actually. In terms of looks, I think it's a little bit... It doesn't have the most flamey top like some of the Les Paul standards do. The back of it is this nice brown, which I really like. And it's kind of like this lemony burst. Well, not really much of a burst at all, is there? The pickups are a little hotter than my Gibson Les Paul, which had some Monty's underspun paths in it. The neck is very similar, that sort of 59, I think, style. It's KL59, so it's like not quite as chunky as a 58, definitely not as slim as a 60s, but it plays fantastically well, and crucially, and this is what I'm thinking I like most about it, is that it's not heavy. For a piece of wood that's made out of 2 solid bits of mahogany, and then a third for the neck, these can get really heavy. And there's another question altogether about whether you think the weight of guitar matters. To me, if I'm going to be gigging a guitar and picking it up regularly, it's just one of my things, is that I kind of like the guitar to be, I don't know, I think it makes me feel different about it if it's not super, super heavy. Now, the Gibson Les Paul standard was from 2002, would have been weight relieved as well, but still weighed over 1.5 pounds more than this. This comes in at under 8 pounds, which is pretty incredible for a Les Paul made of mahogany. And I thought I was going to be worried that the headstock didn't say Gibson on it and didn't look exactly right. I thought I was going to be worried that this horn here isn't exactly the same as a Gibson for reasons that presumably Chris doesn't want to get sued. Actually, I was being quite shallow, and it turns out that I really do love this guitar. So that's kind of nice. Gigging it, I played Boys Are Back in Town on it, and some other things. So I'm really liking it. Yeah, it's just a great all-round guitar. So if anyone was looking at the K-Line Les Pauls, I would say, to me, I'm very impressed with this. My buddy Jake Loosemore has a Murphy Lab, which is, I think, one of my favourite Les Pauls. Well, it definitely is the favourite Les Paul I've ever played. Jake has played some actual 50s bursts, and kind of his guitar he prefers to them even. But that's a 7-8 grand guitar now from Peach, and the prices on these things are going up. I was having a chat with Keith from 5 Watt World the other day, and he was saying that people kind of talk about the Gibson Les Paul and say, like, in the 50s it was like a couple of $100, and now if you look at the standard, it's basically just the same price adjusted for inflation. And then he said, but you have to spend about twice that to actually get something that's a bit closer to what they were building then. So an R8 and R9, I think the price on those is now £5,000, which is not an insubstantial amount of money, right? That's quite a chunk of money to be spending on a Les Paul. I'd be looking specifically at somewhere like Peach Guitars, where you can see the weight of every single one of them. I do think they look incredible. Shout out to Chris, who lives just up the road, let me borrow the Turok TS1. He's got an R9. The top on it is just beautiful. I was also talking to John Priest from Peach, and he said to me, when Gibson get it right, it's a beautiful thing. But there is that point there about kind of when. So, you know, you're going to find loads of great Gibsons out there that look the part and are amazing. I don't feel, for me, like the Gibson Les Paul standard is necessarily in the same sort of bracket of quality as something like this, as something like even the Maybach Lesters, as something like the, you know, name your favourite Les Paul that isn't a Gibson in the comments if you want. And certainly not as good as like the custom shop R8s and R9s, which I think people that have those really appreciate those as well. The other thing, again, talking about weight, I did get that Gibson Kirk Hammett, which was like a $3 guitar, and that weighed above 10 pounds. So again, for me, that's like a total non-starter. Although it played well and sounded good, it's like I'm not going to be gigging that thing. Unplugged as well. It seems to suit quite a lot of styles, the Les Paul, obviously. It's nice and bright unplugged. Yeah, so nice and resonant unplugged. the nitro and finish and stuff, because of how light it feels in the hands, just to me seems like it's going to be a fairly thin finish. I guess we'll find out over time how that kind of ages, but I think a really beautiful guitar. And yeah, just I'm glad that I didn't end up missing that Gibson Les Paul as much as I thought that possibly I might. So I guess a glowing kind of reception to this guitar that Chris very generously sent over. And yeah, you'll see this on the channel lots more. And that was kind of the thing that was the question for me, was like, you know, if you see it popping up on the channel more and more, then that's a good sign. You know, a guitar that never see again on here is probably not something that I've gelled with as much as my other K-lines, for example. I'll catch you in another video soon. Hope that was okay to talk about. And cheers for stopping by.